what's up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to talk about guitar setups, specifically on an ES-style guitar, and a little more advanced techniques, such as the intonation of the guitar, and also the pickup adjusting, the pickup heights. It's very important stuff. I am not an expert on it, so we're going to be talking to my good buddy, Hunter Van Houten of Van Houten Guitars out of LA. He is a fantastic luthier, repairman, musician, guitar player, and a killer dude. So please show him some support. Check out the links in the description below, and let's talk to Hunter.
After we've made these adjustments to our truss rod, we can move down to the overall pickup height. Now we can check this, and this is all preferential when it comes to pickup height. We can check this by plugging in our guitar and listening to the pickups. We're going to check for loudness first. And these are sitting actually pretty close to where I want. They're pretty even. We could maybe bring our neck pickup up just slightly. There are specific measurements if you go online. You can take a ruler, and you have to have a very fine ruler in order to check this, like we did with our string height. And you can check the actual pickup height to the string. But it's different for every guitar of what people typically say. But I like to just use my ears when it comes to this, because that's the number one thing whenever you're setting these pickup heights, is just what sounds best to you. So I think the bridge pickup is fine, and I think the neck pickup could stand to come up just slightly. So what we're going to need to do is take our Phillips head screwdriver, and we want to make sure the screw head on this Phillips head screwdriver is pretty small so that we don't strip out these screws. And we're just going to slightly raise this by tightening to the right on this pickup. And I'm just going quarter turns here so that we're staying even to where we were. And I can see that's up a little bit higher, but it could stand to come up a little bit more. So I'm going to go another quarter turn. And we're going to check the overall volume of this now. So that's my bridge pickup. And this is my neck pickup. So I can tell that we're a little loud on our bass side. So our E string was a little bit louder than our neck pickup, and it seemed like it was a little too distorted almost sounding for me. So I'm going to back this off just a touch, about a quarter turn. I'm going to leave my high E string side where it is. So that's our bridge, that's our neck. And that's sounding way more even overall now, volume-wise, where we want it to be. So I'm happy with that. The best way to tell, if this guitar is actually playing right is to play it. All right, and we're not getting any buzz, which is great. It feels much nicer now. Our action is sitting in a better place, sitting lower on the fretboard. One other thing when it comes to setting the action of your guitar, which is, the height of the actual strings off the fretboard, is the nut on your guitar. Now, I don't recommend taking these down or filing this yourself unless you have the proper tools to do so. You can find specific nut slotting files online. And if you have those, you can try to do this yourself. Just make sure that when you're filing, you want to back file it in one direction, and you're going to want to go at the angle of the actual strings. So you're going to want to leave the strings on while you're doing it. But that's going to lower the overall nut slot. Once you've taken material out though, you can't really go back or it makes it really hard to do so. So be very careful when making adjustments to the nut of the guitar. But the way you're going to check this is you're just going to come over and you're going to put your finger on your 3rd fret, and we're just going to check the height of our string from the 1st fret to the bottom of the string. And that's going to tell us how high our actual strings are and where our nut's sitting. We don't want them touching the 1st fret. We just want them almost kissing it. So really, really close, but not on it, or else we are probably going to get fret buzz. And they are sitting perfectly on this guitar. I love it. They're like super close, but not touching. So I'm not going to have to make any adjustments to the nut of this guitar, thankfully. But if you needed to do that, like I said, invest in special nut files for this, and you can find those online. They're pretty easy to locate and to find. But make sure that you know if you're going to take material out, can't really put it back. So be really careful when you're making these adjustments.
All right, so all guitar players know this. They play for a while and then they build up that really gross, gunky residue on the frets. What's the best, what have you found the best way to get that off, to clean that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a rosewood fretboard, as you can see. And the grain of the wood is actually open. It's not like our maple fretboards, or most maple fretboards, where the lacquer, they lacquer over the top of it. So what we're going to want to need, or what we're going to want to use, and what we need in order to get that grime and gunk off of here is going to be just any sort of microfiber cloth and or like an old t-shirt. If you have an old t-shirt that's really soft, that works really well. And you're just going to basically work. We don't want to work the gunk into the fretboard, because a lot of like the rosewood style fretboards, or if you have like a, something along those lines that isn't lacquered, you don't want to work that gunk into the porous bits of the wood. So what I like to do is use something like a lemon oil and or a boar oil. It doesn't really matter, either or will work. You could also use like a mineral oil. And we're just going to use a little bit on here. And I'm going to demonstrate this for you real fast. Okay, now that we've loosened the strings, what you're going to want to do is you're going to take a little bit of your lemon oil. And you can find this at most hardware stores. And you're going to want to put a little bit on your rag. And then you're going to come in and you're just going to work this in very lightly to the fretboard. And just run it over the top of the fretboard. Just rubbing it on also helps to go with the grain of the wood too, so you're not necessarily pushing the gunk down into the fretboard even more so. Also too, if you have heavy goop gunk buildup, you can take a razor blade and just very lightly scrape over the top of the fretboard, scraping off that layer of thick like sweat buildup, just finger goo, and then hit it with some lemon oil. And then what you're going to do is, if you have that heavy buildup, lightly hit the top of it with that lemon oil and then let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes, come back, then polish it out with another clean rag, and then hit it again with some more oil and let that soak in, then come back and wipe that off. And it should take care of your finger gunk problem on most guitars.
When is it time for someone not to do it themselves?
That's a great question. So if you're noticing that through these adjustments, or when you make these adjustments, that you just can't get it to sit right, the neck angle is just too much, or you're turning the truss rod and it's not moving, or feels stripped out or loose, or you hear something shaking, maybe the pickups are very off after making these adjustments, and things are just not right, don't feel right, you can't get it even in the ballpark, then you would want to take it to somebody who's qualified to work on guitars, a luthier, someone like myself who can make these adjustments, who has the proper tools to do so, to remedy the issue, because that may mean there's like a deeper issue with it. You could have, like, let's say you're, a crack in the bracing if you're working on an acoustic, or, something internal that you can't see. Maybe there's an issue with the truss rod that you just aren't going to be able to do with the tools you have lying around. But this is more for overall maintenance. That you can do while you're on the road, a couple times a year, just to keep your guitar in tip-top shape. But I would recommend and highly recommend taking your guitar at least once a year to someone qualified enough to set it up properly, to get it to where you want. And then these are the micro adjustments you can make on your own to keep it to that level.
Thanks for walking us through it.
Of course, absolutely. Anytime. It's my pleasure.
All right, I hope you guys got something out of that. Once again, huge shout out and thank you to Hunter Van Houten of Van Houten Guitars. Be sure to check out the link in the description. Show him some support. Really appreciate that. If you like stuff like this, let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, I appreciate you liking the video and hopefully subscribing here to Marty Music. Thanks again. We'll see you later.